For the next 2 weeks, we will be talking about how to know your audience. We have broken it up into two separate parts, given that it is easier to talk about different age groups at different times. This week, we're going to be focusing on youth and family programming and how you can actually utilize your audience in your program. Youth and families are generally your largest museum audience. They come in a variety of ways. They can be vacationers or tourists, members of a museum that come for consistent learning and experience, school groups that come to get a special type of program or meeting a special standard, and those looking for classes in other formal settings such as workshops and art classes. Family learning occurs when the whole family is generally coming to experience the museum as a whole group. They could be member or first time groups in the area, and they relate best to the museum events and they enjoy multi age range programming to meet the needs of everybody in their group. Remember, these are your toughest crowd because you have to be able to do something for a very young child all the way up into adults. Museums can host an event that directly relates to holidays, and they work very well. Many museums host an event the Saturday before Halloween, for example, as a way for families to come out and experience Halloween in a safer environment. Almost any museum can relate to some holiday, whether it's a historic house decorated for the holidays and hosting a winter festival, or an art gallery connected to a famous artist or event in history. These events allow for a cultural experience, which we will discuss when we meet contractors. It gives families a different experience inside your museum as a whole. When new exhibits come in, it is important to celebrate them. This gives people a grand way to experience what is new right off the bat. Members benefit from these opening and closing parties because it gives them an opportunity as a family to visit your museum in a special scenario. When you turn another year older, host a birthday party for your museum and invite the members. You say the word free, and museums and other nonprofits tend to cringe. Why put money in an event if you're not going to get anything in return, right? It gets people interested in your museum and makes them familiar with no monetary commitments. Chances are, if the museum event is successful, it will make them want to come and be members or at least return to your area at a later date. Free events stand together a lot of gift shop sales and donations as well, so consider this in your event planning. Many museums' main audiences are youth that come in a variety of ways. They can arrive with their parents or as a part of a school or a learning center or as a summer camp. They generally come with a purpose. They usually have a standard that needs to be met by a teacher, school, or state curriculum, and they generally have limited time and funding, so they want to come and get a full experience in the short amount of time and effort that they have. For school groups specifically, having the ability to align your exhibits to the state standards is a very good way for schools to help justify their visits. In the folder, you will find an example of the exhibits aligned with standards at the Children's Museum of Virginia in Portsmouth, Virginia. The Education Department and volunteers align the exhibits, and though it takes a while, more schools book with the museum because they know exactly how to justify their visit. Listed are just a few of the standards you may have to meet in your museum, including the Virginia SOLs, the Virginia Preschool Building Blocks, the North Carolina State Standards, and the Federal Common Core Standards. All of these need to be considered when you're putting together your program and knowing your audience. Listed are just a few suggestions to help get school groups in your museum. Although principals are generally the one who fund the trips or are okay the trip, more often than not it's the teachers that are booking the trips and they are the ones that need to know their students best. Your target audience for the school groups will always be the teacher as they know what they need to come to your visit. Teachers can be their best asset when designing a program, and don't be afraid to take your idea and form a committee of teachers to discuss your program ideas before you even get off the ground. They can tell you from their own experience what will work and what will not in the classroom. So, in reality, you're meeting the standards and the needs of your audience as a group, but you're also meeting the needs of your audience as the teacher as well. Outside of school groups, you also have youth as a single learner. They are the ones wanting a one on one experience in a smaller setting. They are looking for camps, classes, and workshops for a more formal experience. They are oftentimes homeschool learners, and they are part of a family who are generally members of the museum. For that one on one learning experience, there are quite a few different ways that you can handle it. Summer camps are a museum's best friend. They are generally fun to design, they can focus on any niche in your museum, and they can expand beyond the limits of any standard you would need. They do require a lot of work, but they are a lot of fun and they do actually bring a different type of person at your museum. Classes can be done in a variety of ways. They can be semester long, they can be a weekend, a one time shot, or a week long. These, like summer camps, can be a lot of work for you, but they are generally a bit more formal and have a good structured plan. Workshops, like classes, can be walk in, pre registered, or a mix of both. They tend to be more formal, but they are generally a one day subject type of workshop. Many museums like to bring in outside contractors for their workshops to give their people a different experience and a different person to listen to. When you are planning one on one programs, here are a few things to consider. You need to think about the cost for you to put on the program, and this should always be considered as one of the first things because you need to know how much you're going to need to bring back in order to pay for your program specifically. Parents are your concern here. Will they pay for their child to do a one day science experiment camp, or is it better to plan a week long smorgasbord camp where the child gets to do all of the subjects? Bottom line, if it doesn't relate to your museum, don't do it. Children, especially young children, are notorious for finishing activities much faster than you expected. Backup plans are always good in these events, and when you have 8, 9 to 11 year olds who want to finish a project in 10 minutes and two 9 to 11 year olds who want to spend the whole hour. Finding a good time limit meets those quick crafters and forces a more in depth crafter to consider less time. As always, for more information, check out your Week 5 folder for samples of camps, events, and programmings to give you an idea of what you need to start considering when you think about your audience. All of these will be completely necessary when we start putting together one of our final projects later in the semester.